Hello everyone, welcome to 100 days 100 DBA tool script series. Now we are at day 5 and myself Ravi Shekhar. So in this session we'll talk about one of the powerful command, Test-DbaTempDB configuration. Okay, so in this session the main agenda of this session is to why the TempDB is very critical and what are the common TempDB issues in the environments, and what is TempDB contention, and we'll take one real-time use case. Along with that, what exactly this command will do, and let's see the syntax and the best practices and what are the expectations of this command, and make sure that we have to understand the output when we execute this command, and also how we need to run this command for multiple servers and why it is really matters, and when we need to run this command and what this command will not do, and once we found out the TempDB issues, what action we have to take, we'll discuss in this session. And first of all, why TempDB is critical? As you all know, TempDB is used by every SQL Server workload. Even if any action performed, any kind of transaction is performing, all the type of sorting operations, hashing, versioning, transformations, calculations, everything will be depend on the TempDB. So if you are not configured this TempDB correctly as part of installation or after the installation, so if you didn't configure it properly, so it affects all the databases, depends on the workload. So I have seen in my past, so that's why I have taken this concept. Make sure, I mean, like most of the systems are having proper TempDB configuration, but still if any of the server is not properly configured TempDB, then it affects all the database during the heavy workloads. Okay, and this TempDB issue scale with concurrency, which means, for example, more queries and more user sessions are running simultaneously on a SQL Server instance. So the performance bottlenecks will be we can see on the TempDB database. It becomes more severe impact on the databases as well. So the main common TempDB issues are single TempDB data file. Obviously we will not have this single TempDB if you are using 2016 or 17 or 19. So we are having the TempDB as per the core count, but somewhere if you are not configured correctly, then it will be one of the major issue, and uneven file sizes as well. And even if you configure the TempDB properly, maybe you are not you have forgot to set the auto growth properly on the TempDB files. And one more thing is high page latch up weights. So as you all know, whenever any page latch up weight type is happened on the SQL Server, it is indicating that a process is waiting to acquire update latch on a data page memory. So these are the common TempDB issues that we can see in the environments. So what is TempDB contention? This is also very important to know. Junior DBAs are not aware of this exactly what is TempDB contention. So my intention is to understand the basic, even junior DBA can understand this concept and configure the TempDB correctly. Okay. So what is TempDB contention means? So multiple sessions are compete for the TempDB resources. They are waiting to use the TempDB resources. So here the allocation mid-bab contention occurs will happen whenever it leads to page latch updates. So whenever the process is waiting to acquire update log, then the TempDB contention will be more on the servers. And when it happens, the performance also, it will degrade the performance of the SQL Server. So if we take one real use case scenario, so application is very slow during the peak hours, but queries are looking very fine, and individually the execution plan, the indexes are very good, everything is good, but application is running very slow. So obviously we will get a performance issue stating that my application is very slow to respond and all. We need to verify. So at that time we need to verify CPU and memory. We have verified CPU and memory also, seems very normal, but where is the real culprit? So obviously we have to check the TempDB utilization. So how much TempDB it is utilizing. So we have to verify the TempDB contention on the system. So in DBA tools commandlets, we have one powerful command is nothing but Test-DbaTempDbConfig. So it is one of the DBA tool command, as I said. So what it will do is it will check each and every SQL Server instance, and it will identify whether the best practices are met or not for the particular SQL instance, and it will highlight if there is any misconfiguration gaps on that server, and also it is a safe for the production environment to run this command, because it is a purely validating, it is a purely detecting the TempDB configuration information for that particular server. The syntax is very small and very simple and very readable and very understandable. So if you go to the server, so for example here I have installed the SQL Server. I have installed a SQL Server here. I wanted to see the Test-DbaTempDB configuration. So the command is Test-DBA. So most of the cases the command, the noun is starts with DBA, because as it comes from DBA tools, most of the noun is started with DBA. So DBA test, DBA temp DB config. So this is the commandlet. So after this, what we need to do is we need to pass the computer name or SQL instance name. What I will do is I will pass type. I am typing SQL. I am just hitting tab. Automatically the parameter will be passed. I mean the parameter name is highlighting, and then here I need to pass the instance name. So here my instance name is SQL01. It is a default instance name. So if you are passing a named instance, you can pass the named instance in single quotation. So whenever I hit enter, so I got the result, but it is in a list mode. So I wanted to see in a table format. So many of you know already. So whatever the result that we are getting, if you want to format in a table format, so what you need to do is whatever the result I am getting, I am just passing the result, and here I am formatting this into table format. So whenever I hit enter, so obviously I will get the computer name, the SQL Server instance name, and the rule. So what are the, on which base it is giving the best practices. So TF trace flag 1118 is enabled or not, and the file count is properly configured or not, file growth in percent, file location, so file maximum size is set or not, data file size is equal or not. So which means trace flag is by default from SQL Server 2016 onwards. By default this trace flag 1118 is enabled, and also make sure the file count has to be perfectly matched as per the CPU. Sometimes we may not configure properly the data file, the TempDB file count, but what it will do is based on the CPUs, based on the CPU core, it will detect whether files are properly configured or not, and as well as it will check the growth in percent, and also file location. This is very critical part. So most of the systems are already configured for separate drive for the TempDB. So it will check, make sure that we should not store our TempDB files in C drive, and file maximum size. So it is also very important part. We have to, whether we have set the auto growth or not, it will verify, and the data file size is also equal. If we are having 4 TempDB files or 5 TempDB files, did we configure it correctly? Did we make all the file sizes are same or not? This is also very best practice to maintain the TempDB. So this is how we need to test the TempDB configuration for a single SQL instance. What if I wanted to check for a multiple instance? It's very simple. So what you need to do is temp Test-DbaConfig, and you can pass the multiple instance name, SQL01, SQL02, SQL03, like this you can pass it. So there is no need to pass any additional thing. So you can pass multiple instances by separating the comma. But if you are passing named instance you need to mention the single quotations. Okay, this is how it is giving the best recommendation. If you see the column here, is best practice. So is best practice true means all the systems all are correctly configured or not, we can see here. So if the best practice is false, then we need to fix that particular rule and we have to retest it again. Okay, sometimes we may get the chain was issued by an authority that is not trusted. Sometimes whenever you hit it any single server or a multiple server, whenever you get any error like this, the certificate chain was issued by an authority that is not trusted, what you need to do is you have to trust that particular session. So what you need to do is, so you need to simply simply you need to trust the connection. Okay, for that what you need to do is set dbatools is dbatool is in secure connection, and here what I am doing is session only for this session I am informing to trust the connection. So once you hit enter, so automatically if you can see here, it is trusting the certificate and it is also encrypting the certificate as well. Okay, while connecting to the SQL server, and then just hit the server, you will get the recommendations as well. This is how you will get the report. But what the real problem here is, you are getting the data, but if you are getting a multiple servers data in a single, if you want to export, it is a little bit hard, right? So that's why I have created a powerful PowerShell script. It will connect to all the servers and all the instance, and it will generate a report, HTML report, and it will send an email to the your team DL, so that you can verify how many servers are perfectly configured TempDB. So if there is any non-compliant, so what rule it is non-compliance, so based on that we can fix it. So this PowerShell script which I have built, the PowerShell script which I have built is clearly mentioning only few things we need to change. If you want to pass the multiple servers, here we are passing only computer names, not the SQL instance names. So if you can just pass the server names and the output folder of the report path, and you can mention your company name and your logo. And here currently I have disabled the send email notification as false. If you want to send an email, you can make it as true, and you can pass either anonymous or SSL mode. So I am passing anonymous mode, so here I no need to pass the password. And you can configure your SMTP port number and your from email ID and to email ID, and if you can pass the subject. So whenever you execute this script, I mean like here we have many commands are here we have, but whenever you hit enter this one, automatically what it will do is, first it will check whether the modules, DBA tool modules are available or not, whether can able to connect to the server or not, and then it will start the further process. And once the DBA tools are ready, it will read the servers and it will test the instances, and if there is any instance found, it will collected all the test results and it will generate a report and it will automatically open. So if you don't want to open the report, you can comment it out. So once the report is ready, so automatically it will open in the browser like this. So as I am having only one SQL Server instance, so currently it is picking up only one default instance, but it also support multiple instances also. Okay, and if you want to filter out any config rule, file count, automatically you can filter the data. And if you want to filter whether compliance or non-compliance, for example, if you pass the server name and if it is not reachable, if it is not unable to connect to the server, so you can see all this information in a single report. And also if you want to filter, for example, if you want to filter something like, if you instead like you can also search like this, any of the text you can search and you can get the data. And in overall we will get this at what time it is generated and who is generated and how many servers, total how many instances are it is checked, how many are in compliance, how many are in non-compliance, how many servers are not reachable, and the complaints percentage you will get in a single report. So this is very useful and unique and very interesting report which I have created. This will be really helpful. So this can be helpful in the during the after the migration and after the SQL installation, and also for during the audits and during the health checks, whether we are in properly maintaining the systems or not. This script is really helpful and it will generate a powerful and user friendly report. I mean, like, you can execute in simple like this, but if you want to showcase in front of your team or if in front of your management, so this is quite hard, right? But if you are having a proper report, it is quite easy to understand them, what how many servers are in complaint, what action we need to take, so that they can easily understand. Okay, so what exactly this command is check, we have already verified, we have already discussed. It is checking the number of TempDB data files and as well as file size equality, whether we have maintained the size of the files for all the data files, and also check whether we have set auto growth for every data file or not. And also it will verify the file placement, which means where the TempDB files are located, whether it is in different drives or whether it is in C drive. So as per the recommendation, we should not maintain the TempDB file in the C drive. So it will check all these conditions and it will give an output. So understanding the output is very important for every command. So here, if we are getting is best practice is true, which indicates that it is a best compliance, and if it is failed, it highlights the contention risk as well, and which means if it is false, then it will highlight the contention risk, what action we need to take. So here each finding has a clear explanation in the report as well as in the command if you run it manually. So what action we have to take, it is giving a clear information in the report. So why this Test-DbaTempDbConfig is needed and when we need to check, what is the purpose, we have to understand. So as you all know, TempDB is impacting the entire instance. We have to fix, whenever we fix this part, it will improve the overall performance of the SQL Server. And here it is low effort, but to set up this configuration, but it is giving a high return. So to avoid performance issues, we have to set this proper TempDB configurations, and often workload during installations also we can avoid it. And when to run this check, so as I discussed earlier, after the SQL Server installation, we have to verify whether TempDB is properly configured or not, and after workload changes as well. And whenever if you want to if you are getting any performance related thing, then it is also best command whether we properly configured the TempDB is not. So obviously application team won't know, but from our side we have to verify as part of performance troubleshooting, and also before production go live we have to verify this one. So what this command will not do is, it will not change the TempDB, it will not change the TempDB, it will not restart the SQL Server, it will not affect any workloads. It is just a validation, purely reporting purpose validation command. It is not affecting in your system and it won't take much time to get the information. Okay, so there is no problem if you run in the production systems or any systems as well. Okay, and what next? So once you find out the issue, what step we have to do is, we have to plan for the TempDB reconfiguration, like file sizes, file replacements, trace flags, everything we need to take a proper action. And once we identified, we have to fix that part. We need to use set dbatempDbConfig commandlet, so which we are going to discuss in the next session. And make sure we have to schedule the restart if is really required. And once everything is set, the TempDB configuration, again we have to run this Test-DbaTempDbConfig to validate from our side. So in the main best practices about this TempDB is, so we have to maintain multiple TempDB files based on the CPU and core count, and we have to maintain the evenly sized data files. For example, so instead of 6 or 5 or 7, so it is recommended to maintain the data files is a multiples of 4, like 4, 8, 16, based on the CPU and cores. And we have to maintain pre-sized TempDB files for all the data files, and also maintain the controlled auto growth for every TempDB file. And the summary of this entire session is, as you all know, TempDB is very critical. So this Test-DbaTempDbConfig will find the risk in entire your estate, and it will give the results to take action, and it is a safe validation command. So best practices always reduces the contention as well. So in the next session we'll talk about set dbatempDbConfig command. So we'll discuss more detailed in that particular command. Thank you. Hope you understand. So we'll discuss in the next session. Thank you.